So hello there and welcome back to another Night of the Movies video. I'm of course Spike Knight, and in these videos I love talking all things movies and TV on whatever I want, whenever I want. And in today's video I'm reviewing The Black Phone 2. So let's get on to it, shall we? The Black Phone 2. So of course Halloween 2025 is fast approaching. In fact, Halloween 2025 is closer today than it's ever been before. How about that? Yes, Halloween 2025 is, I think, next week, if I'm not mistaken. That's when Halloween is. I'm not a big Halloween fan. I'm not a big horror movie fan, so I don't really know when Halloween is per se. I keep forgetting. But anyway, I'm pretty sure Halloween is coming in the next week or so. And with Halloween comes a bunch of horror movies. And people watch horror movies all the time around this time of the year. People go insane for horror movies around this time of the year. And that is why they released some new horror movies in cinemas around this time of the year. And The Black Phone 2 is one of them. The Black Phone 2 is, of course, the sequel to the first Black Phone, which was released in 2021. And I only watched that film for the first time, I want to say last year. It might have been 2 years ago now, actually, because the amount of stuff that's happened in the past couple of years is kind of insane. But anyway, yes, I watched the first Black Phone for the first time, I'd say about a year ago now. And I'll be honest, the first Black Phone I wasn't a big fan of. I didn't dislike it, but I also didn't really like it either. I mean, it accomplished what it set out to do, but I didn't find it too engaging, I didn't find it too scary, and I came away from it feeling a little underwhelmed. I didn't really dislike the film. There wasn't anything in it that I truly took a disliking to, but there wasn't anything in it that I also thought, okay, that is fantastic. Maybe with the exception of Ethan Hawke as the Grabber, which is a creepy looking villain. Yeah, the film didn't really grab me, and it wasn't that memorable in my opinion. So you might be sitting there going, then why did you watch the sequel? And the simple answer is, I thought the trailer to this film looked absolutely fantastic. I first saw the trailer for this film when I went to go and watch 28 Years Later earlier this year, and I was quite taken with the trailer. Usually I'm not taken with horror trailers. Usually horror trailers are, quite bang. They're doing the jump scares in the trailers, and I really, a lot of the times horror trailers just look all the same in my opinion. But the trailer for The Black Phone 2 did not, in my opinion. It looked different, it looked better than the first Black Phone. I liked they were taking it to a different location, and I wanted to see how Ethan Hawke's character, the Grabber, was being brought back, because, well, I'm going to give something away here for the first Black Phone because you haven't seen it yet, so spoilers here for the first Black Phone, but it did come out 4 years ago now. But at the end of the first Black Phone, the Grabber, the villain, played by Ethan Hawke, dies. So I was like, how are they bringing him back? Because he's in the trailers for this film, and I wanted to see how they did that. And with this sequel, you have Scott Derrickson returning to direct. He returns in the directing chair for the film, and you have many of the same returning cast members. You have Mason Thames, who seems to be having this. He seems to be having a moment right now. He was just in the How to Train Your Dragon remake earlier this year, in which he played Hiccup, the lead character. And he is going to star in another movie next week, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's called Regretting You. So he's having a bit of a moment right now, because he's also got a big role in this film. And the film also stars Madeline McGraw, who was in the first film as Mason Thames' character's sister. And Ethan Hawke, as what he said, returns as the Grabber in this film, and the other returning cast members as well. And some new cast members in there too, as you'd expect, because it's a sequel. And the Google plot synopsis for this film goes as follows. Bad dreams haunt 15-year-old Gwen, once again played by Madeline McGraw in this film, as she receives calls from the Black Phone and sees disturbing visions of three young boys being stalked at a winter camp. Accompanied by her brother, Finn, once again played by Mason Thames in this film, they head to the camp to solve the mystery, only to confront the Grabber, once again played by Ethan Hawke in this film, a killer who's grown even more powerful in death. And that's pretty much all I need to know about this film before seeing it. And honestly, I thought this film was okay. I didn't think it was particularly good, but I enjoyed watching it. And that's the thing. If a film is enjoyable to watch, then I think it's doing something right. And I would say that I had a better time watching this film than I did watching the first Black Phone. So I do think it is a better film than the first Black Phone. I do think it's a good sequel. But I also think it's got a lot of big problems. Narratively, yeah, the narrative structure of this film is all over the place. And I'm not quite sure what story this film was trying to tell. I think it is unfocused, and it maybe should have focused more on one story, and it feels like it's trying to do so much. Like, there's all this stuff surrounding the sister, Gwen, who I only remember the name of because I read it in the Google plot synopsis but yeah, there's all the stuff around the sister who's having these dreams, which are kind of flashbacks, but also kind of visions to the future. You know, she's having all these dreams, and the film wants to focus on that, but then it also wants to focus on the fact that the grabber is somehow coming back, and then also wants to focus on his backstory, the grabber's backstory, and then it's trying to focus on Finn's story also, who's the brother, and there's a lot going on in this film, and I almost wanted to say to the filmmakers behind this movie, decide what story to tell, please, because there is a lot going on, and it does feel at times unfocused, and I'm not sure if the backstory that we are told surrounding the grabber in this film really works, and it did at times kind of feel contrived. It kind of felt like the filmmakers were going, okay, we're going to do this, and we're going to make the characters go to this location so we can tell this backstory, and I don't think there was enough of a reason for our main characters to go to this new location in this film. They go to this sort of camp, and I was watching it and I was thinking, why are they going to this camp? Also, why are they driving in a blizzard to go into this camp? I just don't find it believable that they'll be driving in a blizzard. If there's a blizzard going on, I'm sorry, you turn around and go back home, or you find the nearest motel. In this case, because it's an American film, you find the nearest motel and stay there. Instead, they keep driving through this blizzard to get to this camp, and I just thought, okay, I don't totally believe you would do that. I just didn't believe the characters. Yeah, I felt the way they got to the camp didn't totally work. And there are parts of the film where I was thinking, okay, this is a bit silly. This isn't quite coming together in the way I think it should. And some of the new side characters are unmemorable. Very unmemorable. To the point that I was doing some research. Well, I'd say doing some research. I just looked up the cast listing for this film before doing this review today, and there were a couple of actors and I was like, oh yeah, they were in the film, and I completely forgot those characters were in this film. There were new side characters who were very forgettable, and I mean very forgettable, and not well written, and not particularly interesting to watch. And that's another thing. The dialogue in this film is not the best. The writing in this film, I think, needed another draft, if I'm being honest, because there's some insults that characters throw around at each other, and I'm like, okay, that's a movie insult, you know what I mean? It doesn't feel like an actual insult someone would say to another person. It's a movie insult, and it felt like that insult was thought through by the writers, but it actually feels like some of the other dialogue wasn't as well thought through, and yeah, it doesn't really, some of the dialogue doesn't work. Some of it does work. I'll give the film that. Some of it's not bad. Actually, there's quite a bit of dialogue in the film which isn't bad, but some of it, I was like, don't totally believe that person would say that to that person, you know? There's insults being thrown around, and I don't think the insults are very realistic insults, personally. So I don't think the film is totally convincing in its writing and its characters, and yeah, some of the new side characters, in fact, pretty much all of the new side characters, aren't particularly memorable. But I'll tell you where the film worked to me. The film worked to me in the fact that it leaned into the supernatural more than the first film. At least it felt like it did. This film is heavily inspired, at least in my opinion. Maybe not heavily, but it's definitely inspired by the likes of Nightmare on Elm Street, The Thing, Friday the 13th. I mean, it borrows a lot from Friday the 13th, simply in where it's set, And it also visually borrows a bit from The Invisible Man, the film which came out, I want to say, in 2019. And I wasn't a big fan of The Invisible Man, but it was a well-made film, I will say that. And there are parts of this film, particularly one sequence, which I think takes place in a kitchen, which definitely reminded me of The Invisible Man. And in positive ways, and the best, even, it reminded me of the best of The Invisible Man. And yeah, this film borrows a lot from other classic horror movies, but I think it does so in a way that it doesn't feel like it's necessarily copying for the sake of it. It feels like it's more honouring those movies, and I like when movies nowadays do that. They do that in an honourable way. They borrow ideas or visual things from previous horror movies, but do so in a way that it also, they have their own twist on it, and I think this film did that well. Plus, I really liked how they brought the grabber back. I'm not going to give it away in case people haven't seen the film yet, but yeah, the way they bring the grabber back in this film worked for me a lot, and every time the grabber was on screen, I was enjoying it a lot more than when he wasn't on screen. I kind of wish the grabber was in the film more than he was. He's not in this film enough, in my opinion, but when he is on screen, I think the film is working at its best, And I did like how the film carried on its storylines on the main storylines of the main characters from the first film. I thought they were well developed, and I think the performances are really good from the main cast. I think the best performance is probably from, what's her name? I just forgot off the top of my head right now. It's Madeleine McGraw. Apologies if I got her name wrong. I think she does a really solid job. I'm not going to say she does a great job, but I think she does a solid job at carrying a lot of the film on her shoulders. But one other thing on terms of criticisms that I will say is the film never really scared me, and it never really creeped me out. Sure, there's some creepy imagery in there, and sure, there are moments when the grabber comes on screen and you're like, oh, okay, this is a bit unnerving now, but it never really scared me. None of the film really got under my skin, and my favourite horror movies get under my skin. I've spoken about this all the time. Well, I feel like I speak about this all the time when I review horror movies on this channel. The best horror movies are films which truly make you feel unnerved, get under your skin, and properly scare you. And I don't count jump scares there. I don't mind jump scares, but I often think they're cheap. I've spoken about this all the time on this channel as well when I review a horror movie. I think jump scares are cheap. They give you an emotion, they elicit a response, you get a little response for like 10 seconds at the most from a jump scare, but I prefer horror movies which properly scare you, get under your skin, and you leave the cinema feeling like you've been, feeling like you've been through the ringer, feel like you just been terrified by what you just saw, But I didn't feel like that coming out of the Black Phone 2, and I kind of wanted to, because I think it had the potential to do that. I think it had the potential to scare me, but it didn't. And I do feel that it has some wasted potential in this film. In fact, I think there's a lot of wasted potential. But again, I enjoyed it for what it was. It wasn't anything, it's not anything special. I didn't come out of the cinema going, okay, that's a whole movie that I think is worth seeing in cinemas at this time of the year, because it's getting close to Halloween now. But it is one of those horror movies at the same time that if you wanted to go to the cinema to say, I think you'd have a good time overall watching it. It's pulling in all these different directions. The structure, narratively, is just all over the place, and I don't think it's as well written as it could have been. Scott Derrickson, the writer, director, or the co-writer, should I say, the co-writer, director of this film. He's also directed Doctor Strange, so there you go. The guy directed Doctor Strange, also directed the Black Phone films, which I just find a bit funny. But anyway, Scott Derrickson, is a co-writer and director on this film, was hyping this film up for the longest time, and of course he has to do that because it's his film. But the way it was hyping up, it was like this is going to be one of the greatest sequels of all time, and it's really not. I don't even think it's a great horror sequel. I can think of a much better horror sequel that came out in the past 5 years, A Quiet Place Part 2. And there's a lot that's a horror sequel which is loads better. But what I will say about this film is it does have a story to tell. I enjoyed watching these characters again, even though I didn't feel particularly attached to them in the first film. I did enjoy seeing them back. There's a great Pink Floyd needle drop early on in the film of Another Brick in the Wall, one of the versions of that song. I want to say it's Another Brick in the Wall Part 3, but I might be wrong. Do correct me if you're a big Pink Floyd fan, and I got that wrong. But there's a great needle drop in the film. It does have some well-constructed moments. In fact, there's a lot of well-constructed sequences in the film where it's you know, it's balancing, or it's going between quote-unquote present day of this film and the past of this film, and I think that's done well. It's got a good heart, it's got some good performances. I just couldn't escape the feeling that this should be a better film, you know? I think the potential was there to truly make it a scary and great film, but I don't think it reaches that potential, and I do think it falls short of greatness. It's okay. I don't think it's particularly good, but it's okay. It was enjoyable to watch, and there were parts where I was like, okay, yeah, I like what they're doing here. I just wish I loved what they were doing here, you know? And I do feel it's underwhelming. Not as underwhelming. I didn't come away from this film as underwhelmed as I came away from the first film, but I did think, oh, we could have done a lot more, and to be honest, you should have done a lot more. Still, I enjoyed it, and that's something. If you enjoy the film whilst it's on, it's doing something right. At least it is, in my opinion. And so, all in all, I'm going to say that The Black Phone 2, I'm going to say that it's a... I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10. Usually if I just think a film is okay or just enjoyable, I give it a 6 out of 10. But I did think this film was a little bit more enjoyable because I did like how they brought the grabber back. I thought that was well done, because it wasn't stupid, it made sense. And I do like also, one thing I haven't mentioned yet, is how this film is about fighting back against your demons, both literally and figuratively. And I do think that is done well. Not very well, but done well. So, yeah, there are parts of this film which I do think are done well. And I don't think it's just okay, I think it's better than just okay. But it should be at least solid, you know, and I don't think it was. And I think it had the potential to get there. There was stuff in this film which should have truly terrified me, should have truly scared me and make me feel like, oh my god. It made me go, oh my god, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe this happened in the past. I can't believe the grabber did this. But the film never really did that, in my opinion. It's an okay film, but again, it should be so much better. So I enjoyed it, but part of me is also thinking, if I watch this film again in about a year's time, would I like it any more, or would I like it any less? And I'm afraid the answer is going to be, I'd probably like it, yeah. I'd probably like it less. Still, as of now, I think it's an okay film to watch at Halloween. If you wanted to go to the cinema to watch a horror film at this time of the year, why do you go and watch this? I can see you enjoying it. And yeah, I think it was not bad. Just not particularly that good either. It's okay, and it just had the potential to be great. You know, the ingredients are there. You know, the ingredients to bake the cake were there. I just don't think the cake was baked to the best of its ability. You know, don't know what the cake analogy was I was going for there, but you get the point I'm making. Hopefully you do. It's just, I wanted it to be so much better. It didn't scare me. At the end of the day, horror movies should scare you, and this film didn't. So there's that as well. Yes, The Black Phone 2, I thought was an okay film, but not anything to write home about. And so, all in all, I'm going to say that The Black Phone 2, once more, is a 6.5 out of 10 from me. Anyway guys, that's it for today's video. If you have seen The Black Phone 2, then please let me know your thoughts on it in the comment section below. And as always, thank you for watching or listening to this video. And if you haven't yet, please do click down below and like and subscribe on this video. And look forward to many more videos coming very, very soon on this channel. As what he said, thank you so much for watching or listening to this video. I will see you guys again soon, but bye for now. Bye.